So real quick, I just wanted to tell you guys what happened to me this morning. As you know, I stayed at that little church last night with permission. I've stayed there probably 3 or 4 nights. And I'd been up since early this morning. I was just sitting in here charging up the computer and watching some videos, getting caught up on some channels, waiting a couple phone calls I needed to make that I couldn't make until later in the afternoon. So I'm sitting here making my calls and just minding my business, or sitting there. I'm not there anymore. And someone came pounding on my door, on my window and on my door until the alarm went off. And it was a cop. It was a police officer. And it wasn't the first thing that happened today. First, early this morning, not real early, because like I said, I was up since real early, but it was maybe around 9 o'clock. And a car came barreling in around my van, over to the other side of it, and parked. And I sort of leaned back. I thought, I don't know if I should let them know I'm in here. I don't know who that is. And I'm just hanging out in the back seat here. I'm not in the far back where it's sectioned off where you can't see in. And finally, the car was still there. And so I leaned forward and looked around to see who it was or what they were doing. And there was a woman putting her glasses on. And then she drove away. So I thought, well, I don't know what that was about. Maybe she just needed to come off the road for a second and adjust her glasses, or, something like that. So I just didn't think anything of it. So that's when I decided to go ahead and watch some videos and just sit and hang out a little bit until I could make my phone calls that I needed to make. And which, by the way, I had to do through internet because my phone service ran out today. I do a prepay thing, and so it had run out sometime overnight, I guess, and I needed to make these calls. So I thought I'll stay here with the connection and call over my Google Voice. And I couldn't turn the computer on. I couldn't figure out what was wrong. Here, this woman, I don't know who she was. I have no idea who she was. If she's a neighbor, if she's a church member, if she's someone who works at the church, I have no idea. She didn't speak to me. Here she barreled in, got out of her car, went back and unplugged the extension cord that was plugging in my little heater, and which I was also using to charge up the laptop. But she unplugged it, got back in her car, and left. So I have no way of knowing who she is or why she did that, or, you know what I mean? I just got out and plugged it back in, but kind of lost my train of thought a little bit. The camera quit working. There was no more space, so I had to take the videos off that I had on there and then restart. So I'm trying to think, where was I? Crazy woman, barreling in like a bat out of hell, parked beside my van, unplugged me, then took off. And then about 2 hours later, after I did go ahead and plug in, and I think what I was starting to say was I was nervous about getting out and going and plugging back in, because I thought, surely they know I can just go and plug it back in. Are they counting on that? Is someone going to ambush me out there? I mean, I didn't know who all was there, if this woman was alone or if she had someone with her, or what her reason was for doing that. No idea. So I was a little nervous when I got out and plugged it back in, but I did. There was no one around. So a couple hours later, someone's pounding on the door of the van and the window, and the alarm went off, and here it was a policeman. So I said to him, I know why you're here. This woman called me. He said, yeah, the pastor called me. So the pastor of the church that gave me permission to park there and plug in called the police on me for being there. So, I don't even know what to say about that. So when I left, we had a long exchange, and including him asking me if I have any drugs in my vehicle, and him running my plate and wrong and telling me I had a dead plate, and he was going to have to confiscate the plate and tow the vehicle, and I was going to have to get another ride, you know, home, whatever. I'm saying home, but get picked up by someone. Um, and I was kind of freaking out. Whoa, whoa, whoa! What are you talking about? You're gonna, confiscate my plate? Well, it's coming back. It's a dead plate. I said, what is a dead plate? What are you talking about? And he says, well, that means it's not valid. So I can't let you drive this vehicle away from here. You're going to have to, call someone to come and get you. And they were going to tow my vehicle. I said, please run that again. He said something about my son's vehicle or something. And I said, what do you mean? This is my vehicle. He said, well, it's under the name of Corey something. I said, no, this is my vehicle. So I said, please run it again. That's when I asked him to please run it again. And he did. And he said, I'm sorry, I must have put that in wrong. And I said, well, you really had me there, because I actually have a grandson named Corey. So I'm thinking, how's his name coming up when you run my plate? So that threw me. But anyway, he was very, very nice. And he said, I'm not here to ruin your life. He said, I just can't see, causing you any kind of problem where, you wouldn't have a vehicle, where you wouldn't have a place to sleep. He said, I'm not going to take your vehicle. Anyway, he ran it and it came back, and it was in my name and it's a valid plate and there wasn't an issue. But he was very, very nice. And he was, saying, don't you have somewhere you can go? And, anyway, so that's not working out for me to plug into the church anymore. I'm not real sure what I'm going to be doing. I know right now it looks like I'm gonna stay in a motel for a couple nights and try to sort this out and try to think of something, because I was looking ahead at the weather and it's showing that it's going to be down like 17 degrees, 3 degrees, for the lows at night. So it's going to be getting colder and colder over the next few weeks. And I just can't be out here. I can't. Without being plugged in to use my heater, I can't do it. The van's not together enough. Obviously, I've had the police called on me 4 times. And I was just looking at a calendar. I thought, I'm going to start keeping track of where I stay, and when the police are called on my vehicle, for God's sake, because it's happened 4 times now. 4 in the last month. It hasn't even been a month. It's been since New Year's Eve. And I was looking at the calendar and I thought, oh my God, that's a 2-week period. So in the last 2 weeks, the police have been called on me and my van 4 times. So I am learning about, a lot of these, a lot of van dwellers and YouTubers, give you advice about being stealth and, what to do, and, to keep from having that knock, that knock on your window. And I have to say, it seemed like they were going a little overboard at first, but it's been my experience now that there's a good reason for that. I mean, you definitely don't want to draw attention to yourself in any way, because people are out to cause problems for other people as it is. I mean, without you making things harder on yourself. So I don't know. I've got to figure this out. You know, it's this whole thing is taking me some time, and saying I've had setbacks is kind of, I don't know. That's really putting it mildly, but I just don't know what to do with this cold. I may just have to end up throwing everything in and go south. I mean, people have been asking me, can't you go south? Can't you go to warmer climate? But I'm so spread out. I've got a tenant landlord issue going on, which I'm going to have to go back to court for. I've got 2 storage units in 2 different towns. You know, and the one has all my things for my van in it, and that one I want to be really, really careful about, you know, making sure it's paid. And you know, I mean, I go in and out of that storage unit regularly to get things that I need, putting things in. I mean, that's how I'm living right now. Once the van's together, I won't have that anymore. There won't be any more need for it. But right now, I'm sort of living out of that. So I know you professional van dwellers who have been doing this for a long time and live in the desert in Arizona don't like hearing that, because if someone has a storage unit, oh, they're not a real van dweller. So um, I don't know. I just don't get some people's attitudes towards others, I guess, some of the time, because we all have our own story. We all have our own life, and things happen, you know, differently for all of us. And plus, it's very, very different living on the East Coast of the U.S. than it is living out west, where it's warm, and or south, where it's warm. It's not easy in the Northeast at this time of year. And we're going into the coldest month here, so I'm not looking forward to it. I am going to have to find a place to stay. I didn't want to give up that apartment yet. That's why I kept saying I'll be keeping it as long as I can, because I know that I can't survive in this van in this cold. It's going to be, say, 3 degrees, and then with the wind chill, it'll be another 15, 20 degrees colder. You know, I mean, no. I can't be in this van with, you know, negative temperatures. So I may have to find a place to stay temporarily through the next couple of months. So this staying at a motel for the next few nights is going to be, you know, a nice little break. But these motel stays are definitely just putting a band-aid on it. I have to find something permanent. And I'm not sure that's, I don't know, nothing's coming up. That church was the first thing that was, you know, really what I was looking for. Being able to plug in and stay in my own van. And the woman was really, to be honest, I didn't want to say anything, but she was very judgmental and prejudiced, and just in the few exchanges that we had, she talked about Trumpians and black people, and I don't know. She was horrific, and she's running a Salvation Army unit out of that church. So you know, I just tried to overlook her and just be grateful, and I was very grateful to have that for those 4 nights. It wound up being 4 nights that I stayed there, plugged in. I was just grateful to have that place and just overlooked her personality completely, and wasn't really dealing with her anymore. I didn't really have a reason to. But I don't know. It just amazes me that there are people who call themselves Christians and go to church regularly that are really clueless. This is a woman who's supposed to be helping people, and rather than just say, okay, you know, we let you stay a few nights and that's the end of it. You know, we can't have you staying here anymore for whatever reason. Doesn't matter if they, you know, what their reason is. If they don't want me there, they don't want me there. But why couldn't they just tell me that? Why would they call the police on me? It didn't even make sense. So I think he felt bad too. I mean, because I said to him, you know, I'm here with permission. Well, that permission has been revoked. I said, well, it would be nice if they would just tell me that. Why would they call the police on me, for God's sake? I mean, that didn't make any sense. So that's where I'm at today. I'll be able to have a nice few days, at least one night at the motel, which, I don't know, probably 2 nights, because with the way I sleep or don't sleep, and all that I have to do to clean out this van and stuff, I have to make it so that you can't tell that I'm sleeping in it. And right now there's bags and, you know, stuff. If you look in the window, it looks like someone's living in it. And I have to change that. I don't want people to look in here and think that. So that's going to be one thing. I do have this curtain, but because everything's just thrown in the back and it's not straightened out and, you know, cleaned, and I've got a rug half down and a futon in there all crooked, and just, you know, things are everywhere. And until I get that straightened out and try to clean it up and fix it so that I can sleep back there, I'm sleeping across this back seat that I'm sitting on right now. So if you look in the front, you can see me back here. So that has to change. So I was hoping to take the time while I'm staying at the motel to clean up the front of the van and, you know, make it look like maybe like a church van, or, you know, something like that. If not a work van, because it has this back seat in it, even a church van or something, you know, something to where it looks, you know, it doesn't look like someone's living in it, where it just looks like it's just a regular vehicle. Although the paper on the windows, I'm told, is what, you know, is a major issue. So I do have to do these windows as soon as the weather breaks. Apparently you can't do the perforated vinyl in the cold. It has to be warm weather. And I need a garage for them to do it in. So I just can't, I can't get it done. I've been stalled on that front too. So, well, I'm going to go get checked into the motel and everything, and probably take a nap, because I look tired because I am tired. I barely slept last night, and it'll be nice to sleep on a bed and be able to again make coffee and clean out the van, do some things that I wanted to do at the motel the last time, and I couldn't because it was rainy and bad. But I think we're supposed to have a decent day tomorrow, so I can work out in the van tomorrow maybe. All right, well, I'm going to get going. I'll talk to you guys again soon.